from Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California. The 1989 World Series. A's trying to sweep. The Giants down to their final out. It's a ground ball to the right side, steered by Phillips. Flips to Eckersley. Yes, he's there in time, and the A's are the world champions. The A's, the world champs, and the deserved world champs.
In time. Ball game over. World Series over.
Giants have just taken the field, and Willie Mays with the New York and San Francisco Giants from 51 until he was dealt to the Mets in 72. Accorded the honor of throwing out the first ball as he throws it up into the stands. He was going to throw out the first ball the night of the earthquake, standing on the field with Joe Morgan. Then last night they accorded the honor to several of the rescue workers, and tonight Willie gets his moment in the late afternoon sun. And Don Robinson goes to the mound for the Giants, trying to keep their hopes alive. And we will get the inside pitch on Don Robinson of the Giants, the National League batting champion Tony Gwynn of the Padres.
He's basically a three-pitch pitcher: fastball, slider, forkball. And the forkball is the pitch that he will use when he's ahead in the count. And with runners on base, he holds the ball in the set position to make up for the fact that he's got a slow delivery to the plate. Now, he's had knee problems, but he's managed to overcome them. And in tonight's game, he can help himself because he's the best hitting pitcher in baseball.
And tonight, Rickey Henderson leads off, per usual, for the A's. Carney Lansford batting second. Same lineup as last night. Canseco hit a home run yesterday. Mark McGwire is the cleanup hitter. Dave Henderson, the biggest night of all, 2 homers and a double. He hits fifth. Terry Steinbach does the catching. The second baseman is the switch-hitting Tony Phillips. Walt Weiss is the shortstop. And the winning pitcher in Game 2 goes to the mound in Game 4, Mike Moore. And the Giants defensively, the outfield, Kevin Mitchell, Brett Butler, and Donnell Nixon is in right. Roger Craig has shuffled the lineup again. He has Oberkfell at third, Williams at short, but he's moved Greg Litton in at second base with Robbie Thompson bothered by a sore shoulder and in a slump on the bench. Will Clark at first, Terry Kennedy is back of the plate, and Don Robinson, who has barely pitched in the last 7 weeks, goes to the mound.
Well, again, those knee problems have really given him a problem. And cortisone shot 3 the last month. He said last night in a news conference he's had 150 to 200 cortisone shots during his career. Shoulder problems early on. A big guy at over 230 pounds. About 6'4". Excellent control. Under 2 walks per inning. And that's the key to getting this guy out right here.
So Rickey Henderson to lead off.
Pardon me, Al. As a matter of fact, Don Robinson has walked only 1 in his last 32 innings of work, and that was an intentional walk. His last start, September 25th.
That was his last regular season start. He worked once in the playoffs, and in fact was the winning pitcher in Game 3 against Chicago. So here we go. The fourth game is underway, and the first pitch to Henderson is outside. The plate umpire is Dutch Rennert, and you will know that immediately. You can hear Dutch in Amsterdam. The 1-0 pitch to Rickey Henderson. Missing outside, ball 2, and again the Giants digging themselves a hole, as the Blue Jays did throughout the playoffs, and as the Giants have done too often in the World Series by walking Henderson, or at least letting him get on somehow, leading off. And he hits a high fly ball to left field, and that one is carrying, and back goes Mitchell, and it's a launching pad again tonight. And I have to tell you, I've seen a lot of games in this park, and that fooled everybody. But on a winless night, what would be a normal routine fly ball goes out, just like last night, 1-0.
That sets a World Series record. Never in the history of the World Series has 8 different players hit home runs. Now only Mark McGwire has not homered.
Lance Lansford hits one to center field and right at Butler for the out. So one down in the first inning. Henderson on a 2-0 pitch. Swinging away and making it 1-0 Oakland. Now Canseco will be the batter with one out and the bases empty. And Tim, you've seen games, you've played here for years, and what a difference it makes when the flags are limp.
Oh, this is a bandbox. When there's no wind blowing, a bandbox. 7 home runs in last night's game, and Henderson, the first batter up tonight with a home run. 9 home runs now by the Oakland Athletics.
One ball, no strikes on Canseco, who is 3 for 10 in the World Series. And that pitch outside, 2-0. There it is, and that's a most uncommon sight at Candlestick Park, except in the month of October. This has always been a great park for weather during the football season. 3-0 the count. Henderson leading off with a home run. That is nothing new. He's done it 40 times during the regular season. Most different players hitting a home run, and there it is, graphically illustrated for you. The A's 8 different guys. Canseco takes all the way, and the count is 3-1. Dutch Rennert lets him know it's strike 2, 3-2.
Outside corner, says Dutch. That ball's outside.
Little squibber up the line, and it rolls foul. So the count stays 3-2 on Canseco with McGuire on deck.
Canseco telling first base coach Dave McKay that was a curveball. That's the first curveball that Robinson's featured. There's David at first base.
Canseco last night relishing his 3-run homer. And of course he felt he was thrown at early in the game. And he had a great little tete-a-tete with the crowd as well. He told folks after the game there was a woman in her 60s who was yelling at him like a longshoreman. 3-2 the count. A's on top 1-0. Mark McGuire is on deck. Last night the A's 13 runs, 14 hits, 5 homers, and again no designated hitter. Dave Parker on the bench. Popped up a mile high and playable for Will Clark with a lot of room here at Candlestick. 2 down. So Robinson goes 3-0 and then comes back to get Canseco. 2 out in the first inning, and Mark McGuire will be the batter. For Don Robinson, 10 years between World Series appearances, and Jose sends his best to all of the longshoremen and longshore women at Candlestick. McGuire wraps one on a hop. Great stop by Matt Williams from the grass, throws him out. The A's with a leadoff homer by Henderson have a run with the Giants coming up in the bottom of the first. A's on top on a Rickey Henderson home run, 1-0, going to the bottom of the first inning. And Mike Moore, who pitched very well in the second game, was the winning pitcher. 19-game winner during the regular season. He had spent his career up until 1989 with Seattle, came over as a free agent. And for the Giants, he faces Butler, Oberkfell, and Clark. Mitchell in the cleanup spot. Matt Williams hits 5th. Terry Kennedy is the catcher. Greg Litton is in the lineup at second base with Thompson on the bench. Donnell Nixon in right. Don Robinson, a great hitting pitcher. For the Giants, Brett Butler to lead things off, takes a strike. Butler has been stymied in the series. And in postseason overall as well, 179 between the playoffs and the series, and 1 for 9 against Oakland. And he bunts up the first baseline. Moore fields and then throws the ball by McGuire. So Brett Butler, who has done that so often in his career, bunts his way aboard leading off.
They talked about earlier in the game that all 3 games they played him so shallow, they've really left him only one offensive opportunity. That is to drag the ball, pull it, try to bunt it by the pitcher, which he didn't do, but his speed is so great. He makes Moore field the ball. He's so far down the line. The only throw he has, really with a lot of time, is to go over his head. He can't do that. He makes a quick throw and hits him in the back of the leg. I would not be surprised to see him do that 2 or 3 times tonight, especially the way he's been swinging the bat.
Now Ken Oberkfell, the Giants' best pinch hitter this season, but Roger Craig last night looking for more punch, puts him in the lineup and keeps him there tonight. And he looks at a strike from Moore, and the count is 0-1. Oberkfell with the Cardinals and then the Braves and then to the Pirates, and the Giants picked them up in May. Butler had 31 steals this year, but he was caught 16 times. Not a good percentage.
Moore at 6'4", very quick to the plate. In fact, Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, will tell you they had to slow him down. First time I've ever heard a pitching coach say that. He hurried his motion too much.
(0-2) on Oberkfell.
Which I guess means that he didn't take a high enough leg kick when he was throwing home from the stretch.
Exactly. Want him to be a little bit more deliberate. Normally you tell a pitcher, hey, you got to just hurry, get your catcher a chance to throw him out. And Steinbach throws extremely well. Threw out about 41% of attempted stealing attempts this year.
(0-2) pitch is hit foul outside third, with Will Clark waiting on deck. 1-0 Oakland in the bottom of the first inning. A 5th game. There's Clark on deck. A 5th game would be played here tomorrow night, same time, 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. And the A's know they would go with Bob Welch tomorrow. The Giants don't know. They hope it can be Rick Russell, who took a line drive off his shoulder the other day, or it could be Mike Lacoste, or it could be a mystery man as far as we know, because as Roger Craig has said, he's got to go to a fellow by the name of Holstaff tonight, meaning anybody, meaning Lacoste as well. Lacoste could wind up as the long man. With Butler at first base, again, Moore throws over there.
Again, a quick move. A lot of times where the throw is more important than the quickness. That time he made a quick move and made a good throw.
That's grounded to the left side. Weiss goes to Phillips 1 and then back to first, not in time. A little bit out of sync on a ball hit not that sharply. So Butler sliding in to make sure Phillips couldn't get everything on the throw back to first, and the Giants have a man on.
I'll tell you, Weiss does not get the ball out of his glove quickly, and that allows Butler a chance to get down on Tony Phillips and take Tony out on the play. Otherwise, it's a double play. Good takeout slide, perfectly legal, perfectly clean by Brett Butler, but that momentary bobble by Walt Weiss gave Butler a chance to get down and take Phillips out of the play.
Now Will Clark, who is 3 for 12 in the World Series after an unconscious championship series against Chicago when he was 13 for 20, and thus in postseason combined an even 500. 16 hits, 32 trips.
Yeah, Oakland pitchers were the best of all worlds pitching to Clark. Big leads, Nobody on base when he's come up. Pitch him away, let him hit the ball to the big part of the ballpark. And I tell you what, if a guy hits .333 over the year like Will did and hits 23 home runs, normally he is not a good hitter when nobody's on base, because he's thinking home run versus just the base hit. Here he's got the hole between first and second, a lot of opportunities for him.
2-1. Tommy Reynolds, Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan. 2-1 to Clark. He's hit high in the air to right center field. Dave Henderson and Jose Canseco, and it's Henderson making the catch with Oberkfell retreating to first. So 2 down after Moore goes 2-0 on Clark. He comes back to get him, and Kevin Mitchell comes to the plate.
The one thing that Mike Moore can do, he can get behind you, and he still has that good fastball well over 90 miles per hour that he can come back and challenge the hitters. But what set up that fastball was, of course, the 2-0 split finger. It had to have Will Clark thinking.
Kevin Mitchell hits a grounder to the left side, fielded by Lansford over to Phillips. And the Giants are done in the first. 1-0 Oakland. So the current Mr. October stands in, and we had Reggie in our pregame show. Reggie wearing the baseball uniform. He's taping a show in Southern California and looking on as we start the second inning. 1-0 the count on Dave Henderson. Mentioned Don Robinson. 10 years between World Series appearances for Robinson. He pitched against Jim Palmer's Orioles in 1979, and he was at that time a teammate of Dave Parker.
Pitched against Jim Palmer in Game 2 and won in 1979.
Kind of. I went the first 8. I left with a actually a tie ball game, and he came in, and Manny Sanguillen hit a single off Don Stanhouse to win it in the 10th inning. Even up the series at 1 game apiece. We may have won it 4 in a row. Of course, as it turned out, we lost it in 7.
Stargell had a little something to do with that,
along with Dave Parker. A bunch of guys. Bert Blyleven.
3-1 pitch is wrapped fair down the left field line and bouncing into the corner, and Henderson doing it again tonight. Last night a double and 2 homers, and tonight he starts with a double in the second inning.
Last night he hit the ball to straightaway, center or right field. This time just yanks it over the bag. Again, if you're Oberkfell, you're going to play him off the line, especially after seeing him go the other way 3 times last night.
Terry Steinbach, the batter, and the pitch outside, ball 1.
I think the one thing that Roger Craig has to be concerned with, obviously how many runs Don Robinson gives up, but talked about the great control. Remember, the knee problem is on that right leg. You see the brace, that's the one he pushes off. It should affect, or could affect, his control.
1-1.
Another thing, of course, he really has not pitched a whole lot, as Al Michaels told you. Did pitch a simulated game about 15 days ago. Didn't get a couple more innings about a week ago. So it's been a while since he's been out there.
8 1/3 innings in the last 49 days. That's about an inning a week. Think about Robinson's knee as well, as he feels he got squeezed on that call. He said that it can go at any time. It's not something that necessarily feels any better as it loosens up and the game goes along. He said it can just go on any pitch.
And they asked him how you would feel talking about tonight. He said, I won't know till I pitch.
In the air to right center field, where Nixon comes over. Henderson is tagging, and Henderson is on his way to third, and the throw is cut off. It was offline, and Williams went over to cut it off. So Steinbach with a fly ball deep enough to Nixon to get Henderson over to third. With 1 out, Tony Phillips will be coming to the plate.
This is one of the reasons that Donnell Nixon hasn't started in the first 3 games because of his throwing arm. Roger Craig telling us before the game that he can actually track him down better than any of his right fielders. He just can't throw as well. And Dave Henderson taking advantage of the weak throwing arm of Donnell Nixon.
And a good play as well by Matt Williams, who saw the ball offline, as Oberkfell, I'm sure, did at third, yelling cut. And when you see something like that, just go over there and get it. Don't let it come through.
It's really a catch-22 for Roger Craig. He wants to help his pitching because that's been a problem. But when you play Oberkfell at third and you play Nixon at right, you hurt him. But of course, he saw the 5 home runs by Oakland last night. He wants to have a better offensive club. So you can't win in both ways.
Now the infield plays in with Tony Phillips at the plate and 1 out, and he hits a ground ball to the second baseman Litton, who looks the runner back, and they get a very big out. And that's a real big out, especially with no designated hitter. Now you've got a base open, 2 in fact. You've got Weiss at the plate, but you also have the pitcher on deck in Mike Moore, a man who has hit 1 time in his career.
And one of the beauties of this game is looking back, and if you were thinking squeeze with Henderson on third, the Oakland Athletics only attempted 3 squeezes this year, and 1 worked. 1. That was during the regular season. In the postseason play against the Toronto Blue Jays, they did squeeze with Tony Phillips.
And they will walk Weiss intentionally here. More coming up. The American League pitchers, as you saw, 0 for the last 10 years.
0 for 1 career. How about that?
He came up for Seattle in a game in 1987, and he was pitching for the Mariners, and oddly, it was in a game against the A's in Oakland. And it's 0-1.
Yeah, it's an interesting way managers view having your pitchers hit towards the end of a season if you're an American League club. You want them to be able to help themselves, but you don't want them to get hurt. But you got to get there, and you need them to get you there.
0-2. You doubt that Robinson has a scouting report on Moore, don't you?
Has trouble with the thrown ball.
And it's hit in the air to center field, and Butler races back, and it's over his head. Henderson comes in to score. Weiss is being waved in. He scores on the first hit by an American League pitcher since 1979 in a World Series game. On an 0-2 pitch that Butler had a lot of trouble gauging.
You're only seeing the last part of this play. Butler was frozen when Moore hit the ball, and consequently the ball goes over his head. I'll tell you what, he should be really wringing his hands in disgust because of 2 things. Number 1, Butler not catching. It also made a horrendous pitch up in Moore's eyes.
With a count 0-2.
Exactly. Dave Parker saying, hey, he did it as well as I can.
Yeah. Couldn't have done it any better. The DH sitting tonight, and the pitcher delivers a double, and Henderson is a bouncer to third, and that is a foul ball. Foul ball. 0-1 to count. So Roger Craig, who has not seen his team have the lead, muttering to himself, down 3-0 on a 2-run double by Moore. Henderson legging this one out just in case it had stayed fair.
Tell you, Jim, I know exactly what you're saying with Brett Butler's play in center field. We only saw the result, and the result of him missing the ball by a couple of inches. But the reason he did that, he just froze, and that was properly called. He did not have a good jump on the ball, and that's why Moore is on second instead of the Giants batting right now.
Again, you can blame it a little bit on the weather. I'm not trying to make excuses, but this is so calm. The ball is carrying a lot better than it normally does here.
A strike to Henderson, and the count is 0-2. A's on top 3-0 in the second inning.
Oakland clubhouse, they were talking about how the ball, they really expected, even though the park is pretty much the same size as Oakland, to really have trouble hitting the ball out. He said it's almost like a wind shear. The ball will get out there and just come straight down. It's not the case.
Oh-2 to Henderson is fouled away. In the Giants bullpen, and another spectacular shot of Baghdad by the Bay. San Francisco, Mike Lacoste, who is a possibility tomorrow night if the Giants can extend it to 5. But again, Roger Craig with no options here. Has to get Lacoste up as a long man in game 4. 1-2 on Henderson.
It's almost like an instant replay, that shot. 3-0 Oakland. The Giants have not been ahead in this series yet. They have been tied once the score. They were tied 1-1 in game 2.
And that's grounded to the hole for a base hit. Moore is being waved in by Latchman. Here comes Kevin Mitchell's throw to Kennedy. Not in time. Down to second goes Henderson, and it's 4-0. So Henderson with a single, a run batted in, second on the throw. He's 2 for 2 tonight. It's 4-0, and Roger Craig has to go to the mound in the second inning. Lacoste in the bullpen, and Craig will bring him in after Robinson can only go 1 2/3. 4-0 Oakland, and back we come to Candlestick after this. Looks like a postcard as usual. Twilight, San Francisco, Marin County in the background, panning toward the west. 1-0 the count.
So obviously he's going to try to make a perfect pitch to the guy that hit the best average for the A's this year, and that's Lansford, and he walks him.
And that'll bring up Canseco. So the A's have runners at first and second. Canseco coming to the plate, and the crowd beginning to vent its frustration.
Grip on Mike Lacoste, a sinker ball pitcher. In fact, a lot of people thought he would match up very well against the A's, keeping the ball down. Also throws the split finger.
Canseco hits a high bouncer to third, and losing it in the lights for the moment is over. It fell safe at first. Clark, though, is able to keep it near him, and Henderson has to remain at third. So a chopper, and you can tell Oberkfell lost it in the lights. The high bouncing ball. And he looked again, as you saw, at the bank of lights at the end of the play, and there he is again checking them out. So the bases are loaded for McGuire. It's a base hit.
Watch him go into that precarious squat position to try to make the play, and the throw low and too late to first base. It's going to be an infield hit for Jose Canseco. Good play by Clark, keeping the ball in front of him.
McGuire now hits a bouncer to short. Williams up with it, shovels to Litton, and the Giants limit the A's to 3. Beautiful shot looking west. Candlestick Park in the foreground. Here is Will Clark's play. He's able to keep the ball close enough to him, and then he and Oberkfell talk about it, and that saved a run. So the Giants down 4-0 going to the bottom of the second inning. Matt Williams to lead things off. And the first pitch is swinging a miss in the count 0-1. Williams, Kennedy, and then Greg Litton facing Mike Moore.
You know, the only thing that Will Clark can't do well is run. Most of the time he doesn't have to.
Oh, 2 the count.
He's a good base runner, though. It's a big difference. A lot of players think that because you can't run, that means you're going to be a bad base runner. One of the best base runners that I ever saw, as far as instinct is concerned, was Dick Groat. He was a slow runner, but an excellent runner.
And Williams wraps one into center field for a base hit. An 0-2 pitch and a single to center to start the second inning.
Yeah, 3 consecutive breaking pitches. That's the book on Matt Williams. Last night he had a split finger for a home run. But when you throw a guy 3 in a row, and the third one is pretty much in the middle of the plate, pretty easy to adjust.
I'm really surprised McGuire is holding Williams on at first base. Left-handed hitter up, and Kennedy shows a propensity to pull the ball on the ground. You got a 4-run lead. I don't think Williams is going anywhere. Kennedy, an unusual hitter in that he hits the ball the other way to left field in the air, but he will pull the ball on the ground.
The 1-0 to Kennedy. Outside, ball 2, 2-0.
You know, and that's a conscious thing he should be trying to do here. You know, you tell a guy you don't want him to pull the ball, but when you got McGuire, the first baseman, holding the runner on it, who does not have a lot of speed, and that's Matt Williams, boy, that's what you want to do. Hit it right by him. Create that first and third situation.
3-0 the count.
Yeah, because it makes a lot of sense. The bigger your lead, regardless of whether it's the early innings or late innings, the more inclined you are to play for 1 out. And that's why with McGuire playing behind the runner, that would be an inclination to play for 1 out and not 2.
And it's 3-1. Jeff Brantley throwing in the bullpen because Craig, among other things, has to look ahead in this inning. Kennedy is the number 6 hitter. Then Litton, then Nixon, then the pitcher's spot. Little bouncer to the right side, and McGuire is right there to glove it. Step on the bag, and down to second goes Williams, and that one was very much according to Hoyle. Ground ball right side, fly ball left side.
And McGuire, because the ball isn't hit sharply, he has no problem with the play and takes the sure out. But the point being, by holding him on, if that ball's hit sharply in the hole where McGuire might have gotten it had he been playing behind it, well, then you got a first and third situation.
It's quite evident he tried to hook that ball down the first baseline. Trying to do what you were talking about, hit it right by McGuire.
Greg Litton, who came on last night late in the game and was 2 for 2 in his 2 appearances, takes outside ball 1. Now Robbie Thompson, the Giants' everyday second baseman, bothered for the better part of a month with a shoulder, also in a slump. Litton, as you see, 3 for 3 in postseason, 1 for 1 against the Cubs, 2 for 2 against the A's. And he hits it down the line in right field, curling in the corner and just foul. And the count is 1-1. And will Canseco endear himself to the crowd? Yes, he does. And they don't even acknowledge it.
Right-handed batter, fly ball in the right field line. It's like hitting a slice in golf. All just with that spinning away, and that's what causes it to go foul. Thing I'm well acquainted with, a slice in golf.
Two and 1 on Litton. A's on top 4-0 in the bottom of the second inning. Williams at second base and 1 out.
You got to like Greg Litton as a hitter. Hits the ball up the middle. Good gap power. Hit 7 home runs this year after coming up from AAA early in the year. They went back.
2-2. Again, you don't see many sites like that. The Goodyear Blimp Columbia, that's the Bay Bridge that you're looking at, downtown San Francisco, top of the screen.
If you're going to have about a 10-day delay in a World Series, couldn't think of a better city than San Francisco.
Yep. And again, as we said last night, the folks here just telling us at every turn, tell everybody, hey, we're back. Have rebounded. And as the mayor said last night, the city operating at about 98%, as he put it. But the ball club is a different story right now. Down 3-0 in games and 4-0 in game 4. 2-2 the count. And it's full now. 3-2 with Nixon waiting on deck. Comebacker off the glove of Moore, who looks at third, has no play, settles for the out at first, and Williams able to advance. Had he fielded it cleanly, he would have thought about going to third and probably would have had Williams, but bobbling it and settling for the sure out. 2 down.
Doesn't exhibit great hands. I don't think he really could tell how hard that ball's hit, but here's a guy that hit him in his arm and he takes a sure out at first, but he was not thinking for sure out. And I think one of the reasons that you're talking about a highly competitive guy, that when he can get the lead runner, a runner that's in scoring position, even though he's got a 4-run lead, he's thinking about doing it. May not be the right play, but I think that's what he had in his mind.
Donnell Nixon, who was a teammate of Moore's at Seattle, Donnell played with the Mariners in '87 and then came to the Giants. It's a chopper foul outside third, and the count is 0-1.
The few inter-squad games they did play, Donnell Nixon, their best hitter. Again, as Tim McCarver told you, he does not exhibit a very good throwing arm. The minor league stole 144 bases, so we know he can really fly.
Second most in organized baseball. Vince Coleman that same year stole 145 in the minor leagues.
Fouled away and the count 0-2.
And because of that, that makes Nixon much more dangerous with a runner on third and 2 outs because of the obvious possibility of an infield hit. All he has to do is top one and he beats it out, and the Giants are on the board.
And consequently, you play a little bit shallower if you're an infielder.
Right.
Even with 2 strikes. Easier to hit it by him.
And he's gone on 3 pitches, and the Giants strand a runner at third. And we go to the third. 4-0 A's. The A's ready to bat in the third inning. Dave Henderson will be coming up. And he had a huge night last night. There he was during the pregame introductions. There he was in the first inning, hitting one off the top of the right field fence, just barely missing a home run. And then coming up and hitting a home run in the 4th inning. And he followed that with another home run in the 5th inning. 10 total bases. He was subsequently hit by a pitch. And he comes up here 1 for 1 tonight. Mike Lacoste working in the count, no balls and 1 strike. And now it's 1-1. High in the air and down the line into the left field corner. Mitchell giving chase, and Mitchell goes into foul territory, out of our view, but makes the catch.
I wonder if he caught it in his glove.
Yeah, you wonder. Remember that play in St. Louis earlier this year when he overran one and barehanded it? Oh, get a new angle on Mitch. See about this one. You never know with him.
In foul territory, you see him check the wall right there, and Kevin making a fine play right near the fence.
Steinbach gets a bouncer that's bobbled by Litton, but he has time to throw him out. And that's when you thank whomever that it's a catcher who hits it. Don't look at me that way, McCarver.
Even if it's a catcher that runs pretty well. Again, the key here, you see him slip on the grass once he knocks it down. You stay in front of the ball if you're an infielder.
Right.
Well, you get it off to the side, it goes off to your side, right or left, into the outfield, and that's an error.
Yeah, that's a luxury of a right side of the infielder. He can keep the ball in front of him and still make the play. If that were to happen to a shortstop or a third baseman, no way to make the play.
Tony Phillips hits a high fly ball to right field. Drifting back is Nixon, but he has room and makes the catch. And it's a 1-2-3 inning. It remains 4-0. Kevin Mitchell, you know, we were talking about that barehanded catch he'd made in St. Louis earlier this season. It came on the 26th of April. Ozzie Smith was the batter, going the other way, and he hits one down into the corner in St. Louis. And we'll show it to you in a second as we come back live here. And trust me, he wound up barehanding it. With Lacoste leading off in the bottom of the third. And the count on Mike is 0-2. Here it is now. There it is. We wouldn't lie to you now. You heard it on radio and now watch it on TV. There it was. To Lacoste is down low, and the count 1-2.
Gives you an idea of what kind of year Kevin had, not only with the hand, but with the bat, hitting the 47 home runs, 125 RBIs.
The count 2-2 on Lacoste.
Oh, you made up a great point about knocking that ball and having the luxury of being on the right side. Just think of Tony Fernandez with only 6 errors at shortstop. Of course, he plays on the turf, or Cal Ripken, who plays on grass, with 8. And even Ozzie made more errors than that this year.
His little bouncer off the plate, and Moore had trouble with the lights, but finds it and throws Lacoste out. So as was the case with Oberkfell, a ball getting up in the lights, but Moore this time staying with it and retiring his opposite number.
Well, you know, they talk about the lights here, that they seem to have made some adjustment for the 49ers, the football team that plays here. Pat Sheridan saying that they've lost some balls in the lights. They said they haven't done anything about it. I saw Brooks Robinson many years lose ground balls in the lights in Baltimore. The only thing you can do as an infielder or a pitcher is to stay with the ball as long as you can. Thank goodness it was if you're an Oakland A fan, there was a pitcher running for the opposition.
Butler, the batter. Well, they lose balls in the lights, and occasionally, as you know, if you watched last night's game, they lose the lights as well here. Game ending with one bank out last night. It's bounced through into right field for a base hit, and Brett Butler is 2 for 2 with a 1-out single here in the third inning.
If you flash back to that first inning, bring him in with a bunt. McGuire, you can see him come in on the delivery by Mike Moore and hits it right by him. Now, if he's playing deep, if Brett Butler maybe does not bunt early, even though you usually play him that way, might have been a step or 2 back. We saw what he can do because he's 6'6". He does have a long arm span.
When you're a little guy like Brett Butler, you do try to put the ball in play on the ground. He hadn't done that prior to tonight. That's why he's 2 for 2. Coming into tonight, he was 1 for 9, and he had flied out 7 times.
Well, he said he was going to try to hit it on the ground. He said, but how do you do that? He said, I know I'm pulling off. In other words, my right shoulder, the front shoulder, pulls out. He said, I'm just going to try to make an adjustment. Apparently he has. He started with a bunt.
So if you're a pitcher, you get the little guys to hit it on the ground, and the big guys, I beg your pardon, the little guys to hit it in the air, the big guys to hit it on the ground. Because when the big guys hit it in the air, it could go out of the ballpark.
And for the A's in this series, the big guys and the little guys have been hitting out of the ballpark. The Cansecos and the Hendersons and the Parkers, but the Phillips and the Weisses as well. 2-0 the count.
And again, they are playing McGuire. I know Butler can run, but you know, I guess you could maybe play a step behind him. You could hold him on as well. I know it's not a traditional way of doing it, but what you do here with Ken Oberkfell, you make him a better hitter, because we saw last night he grounded one through the right side. You can see that hole between first and second. And when you get behind 2-0, you can pretty much pick your pitch.
Yeah, I think you're more inclined to hold a guy like Butler on than you would be a guy like Matt Williams. One of the things that's changed in baseball, players will run now when you're down by 2 or more runs in the middle innings, early in a ball game. I think that's changed for the better, too. Some things haven't changed for the better.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Oberkfell.
4 runs down. A lot of guys don't take strikes like Oberkfell just did. Make a pitcher like Moore work a lot. Try to work a walk out. But the running game, I think if that is your game, I think that should stay in effect, even if you're down by 2, 3, 4 runs in the middle innings.
And maybe even more so in a situation like this. The Giants need something to get him stirred. The 2-2 pitch is lifted to left field. It's an easy play for Rickey Henderson. And Oberkfell becomes the second out. Butler is still at first base. And Will Clark is coming to the plate.
Now if you're Butler, you don't even think about running because the chance of Clark popping a ball out of the ballpark.
You run now and get thrown out, you might as well keep going. Just go right out through the center field chute. Go back to last night. Will Clark said that the pattern that Stewart used on him, fastballs with nobody on and a lot of split finger fastballs with runners on. Moore has a lot of similar pitch selections, fastball, slider, and that split finger. There's a splitter. And the reason, you'll say, why does Will Clark swing at this pitch? He does not see the spin. That really, it's kind of the ball drops because it has overspin. You don't pick it up. At least on the good ones.
It's the illusion of a strike. The later the break, the more effective the pitch is.
Yeah, same arm speed, looks like a fastball. And Mike Moore has certainly thrown enough of those to make you look for him. There's another one.
1-2 the count.
Well, Dusty Baker, who is the hitting instructor for the Giants, says, hey, we've told our guys you got to lay off that pitch, and it's either the quick arm, you don't pick up the spin, and you look like a fool, especially on television. But we're talking one of the premier hitters, along with Tony Gwynn in the National League, and he's just chased 2 balls in the dirt because he cannot pick up the spin on that pitch.
Butler going. The pitch is up and away, and the throw gets him. And we go to the 4th, 4-0.
A frustrating brand of baseball for the Giants. They trail by 4, and with Will Clark batting, Brett Butler is nailed at second base. And as Jim Palmer said, if you're thrown out there, you just keep on going. And that's what he did. He kept on going. He's in center field now. Look.
Jim had the tunnel in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And if you talk to Brett, you know what he would have said? Hey, I thought I got a good jump, which he did. Thought I could have get to second.
Yep.
Clark could have singled me on in. If they pitch to him a little bit more carefully, then they have to pitch with Mitchell. Gets a 3-runner. We're back in the game.
Instead, the inning is over, and Weiss leads off the 4th with a fly ball to center. And Butler backs up to make the play. Lacoste has retired 5 in a row. And Mike Moore, whose double in the second inning, the 2-run double over Butler's head, has been the key hit in the game, will be coming to the plate eventually. Mike not used to having to go out into the on-deck circle, so he's just now coming up to the plate.
I wonder if Mike hit on the sandlots of Eakley, Oklahoma.
Well, how many sandlots would there be in Eakley, Oklahoma?
Maybe one. Mike from a town 70 miles west of Oklahoma City, Eakley, Oklahoma, town of 300 people. About 13 miles from Binger, where Johnny Bench is from.
Well, I wouldn't say Eakley is small, but our man Steve Hurt, when we asked him to find out about Eakley, called the police department in Eakley earlier today, and there was no answer.
He called the mayor's office. Yep. The mayor wasn't in.
No, he wasn't in. And then he called the police department back, and they'd come on for the night shift. Low, ball 2, 2-0.
Notice how much respect Mike Moore is getting now that he had that double. They're pitching very carefully to him. It's 2-0, 3-0. No doubt they've The scouting report on him is pitch around him. Maybe they got a hold of the mirror.
.30 pitch. If you've ever seen a take sign in effect, it's right there, 3-1.
Yeah, I got to think he was probably, with 300 people in the town, the #1 pitcher on his high school team.
Johnny was telling us before the game he played against his older brother.
Ripped back into the glove of Lacoste.
Wow.
Parker may eventually lose his job as the DH the way this is going. Moore with a double and then a shot back through the middle. 2 down.
I always thought third base was the reflex position, and this is look what I found. Oh yeah, Mike Lacoste with a nice grab. Didn't know he did it, but it counts.
Tell you, double in the first inning. Had that ball gotten through, Eakley, Oklahoma, a town of 300 people, the townsfolk probably would have been dancing in the street of Eakley, Oklahoma.
On the rural route, huh? Henderson takes low, ball 1, 1-0. And inside to Rickey, 2 balls and no strikes. Rickey Henderson in postseason now. He's been to the plate 40 times in the playoffs and the World Series, and he's reached 24 times, 60%. 2-1. That hill behind the stands back of third base at Candlestick Park. Lights have taken full effect at about 6:39 in the evening, and the pitch in there for a strike, and the count 2-2.
This makes Rickey such a tough out. He homers his first time up. He hits a single, drives in a run, and then on a 2-0 pitch he'll take it. Totally patient, willing to walk because he knows he can steal second, so it's like a double.
Squibb to the right side, surrounded by Litton. He throws him out. Lacoste has set down 7 straight. And back we come to San Francisco after a word from our ABC stations. Candlestick Park, the Giants must feel as if they're in chains as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. 4-0 Oakland. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver with Will Clark leading off in the 4th. And the count is 0-1. Clark, Mitchell, and Williams. It was Clark left at the plate when Butler was thrown out on a 1-2 pitch to end the 3rd inning. Mike Moore delivers and Clark fouls it away. 0-2. Yep, that sums it up for the Giants right there.
Yeah, you know, he said he threw me split fingers last inning. Now he throws me a curveball. I haven't seen that in the 2 starts he's had, talking about Mike Moore, and then he throws me a 90+ fastball.
Little chopper to the right side, and McGuire fields it, makes the tag on Clark, and there's 1 away. So Kevin Mitchell will be coming to the plate, and we can tell you, great matchup from the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Minnesota Vikings, and that's Herschel Walker on your left. He comes to town to take on the New York Giants on top in the NFC East. That's Monday Night Football, 9 Eastern time. Frank and Dan will be there, and maybe a mystery guest. To be announced, as they say in this business, right?
TBA.
TBA. Mitchell takes outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Kevin grounded out in the 1st inning. Inside, ball 2, 2-0.
What an incredible year Kevin Mitchell had when you consider he had some knee problems early in the year, then back problems. Tim McCarver talked about the wrist problems he had, and Joe Morgan, of course, asked him about it. So that's bothering him, but he had a couple of cortisone shots, yet he hit 47 home runs.
2-2. But Dutch can really do his number now. I mean, this crowd is so quiet. It's almost as if Dutch turns it up about 8 or 9 decibels.
Boy, he's had a busy and a good World Series. Made some excellent calls early on in Oakland. Right on the number, as of all of the umpires. They've done a great job. They have not been the focus of this World Series.
And Mitchell swings and misses. Steinbach makes the tag. Mike Moore has his second strikeout. And in 3 2/3 innings, he has limited the Giants to 3 measly singles. 2 down. And Matt Williams comes to the plate. Funny the way things really come to the fore in something like the World Series. The A's with great pitching and deep pitching, and that's exactly what they've got. And the Giants, a pitching staff really held together with paste and glue by Roger Craig throughout the season, but it's unraveled in the World Series. He was somehow able to do it, win a pennant, despite using 15 different starting pitchers during the year. But a whole other story against the A's.
Yeah, almost 8 runs a game in Oakland. They've held the Giants to under 3. Big difference.
One and one. And now if the A's sweep, you're looking at an extraordinary happening because of obviously extraordinary circumstances. The delay caused by the earthquake, where you could have only 2 starting pitchers in a World Series, Stewart and Moore. Foul back, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
The last time there was a sweep in the World Series, the 1976 Cincinnati Reds over the Yankees. And this A's team, perhaps prematurely, has been compared with that team. Boy, I know Tony La Russa's happy to be compared with the Big Red Machine of the middle 70s.
And call strike 3. 3 strikeouts for Moore. Giants gone swiftly in the 4th. 4-0 Oakland. Clear domination thus far in the World Series. A's won the opener 5-0. Game 2 5-1 last night 13-7. Lead here 4-0. What does it add up to? You see it, a 19-run difference. The largest margin of runs in a 4-game sweep. Yankees against Cubs, the famous Charlie Root, Babe Ruth. Did he point to the bleachers or not at Wrigley? 18-run difference there in a Yankee sweep. Yanks against the Cardinals in 28, the year after Ruth hit 60. A 17-run difference in that World Series. And so the A's, for the moment anyway, keeping that sort of company as we go to the 5th inning. Lansford, Canseco, and McGuire. Carney fly to center, drew a walk. Mike Lacoste in relief of Don Robinson. And Kennedy wants to know where it was, and Renner says inside. Ball 1. 1-0. Canseco on deck. One and one. Two and one the count.
Did Tony La Russa have some nice things to say about Carney Lansford? Talked about that .336 batting average, especially in Oakland.
There's a grounder to third. Oberkfell throws, and Will Clark is able to scoop it and get out of the way. 1 out.
One of the toughest ballparks to hit in. Of course, Kirby Puckett with his first batting championship. Fine year he had. You look at the play by Oberkfell. Routine play. The throws up the line. He's got to hurry because the one thing good about the 10-day delay, even though Lansford doesn't seem to be running hard, is his legs have gotten well. He had a hamstring problem during the playoff.
Jose Canseco. And he at least brings the crowd alive. Takes a strike, and the count 0-1. One of the many sights, of course, in San Francisco, Lombard Street, the crookedest street in the world. Speed limit 5 miles an hour. It's a good thing Jose has never been on it. Fouls it back, and the count 0-2.
That would straighten it out, right?
Straighten something out. Jose better have Esther drive around if they win. One of the more incredible pictures. I guess it played in newspapers around the country following the quake. The players left, some on the bus, some in their own cars, and there was Jose being driven by his wife Esther. Not only that, but there was a photographer at the gas station with Jose sitting in the front seat and Esther out there pumping gas. And he lines one to left field and in front of Mitchell, who was playing halfway to Marin County. A base hit for Canseco. Kevin was back near the warning track, and it's one of those balls that is hooked and dropping quickly, and it's a base hit in front of Mitchell.
You know, he's got such tremendous bat speed. Can't really think of a whole lot of people in the American League that get the bat through the hitting zone quicker than Jose Canseco. Even there, he got jammed and just fought it off. And of course, where do you play a power hitter, especially when the ball is carrying? Just about on the warning track, which is where Kevin Mitchell was.
McGuire takes outside, 1-0.
That's why power hitters get a lot of hits like that. Guys of average size, you play them much more shallow, and if they break their bat, and the outfielder catches the ball, not a guy like Canseco or McGuire.
To center field, Butler started back, now comes in, and in his tracks makes the catch. Canseco remains at first base, and with 2 down, it will bring up Dave Henderson.
Of course, you're looking at Jose in a year where he had the hamate bone that was broken in his left wrist. He only hit 267, but in his first 3 years, he went from 240 to 260-ish, and then over 300. Tremendous strides as far as average. You know, they talk about comparing Jose to Bo Jackson. The big difference is the one thing Bo Jackson has not done yet is hit for an average. He's making strides getting there, but Jose can do it. Of course, he says, hey, last year was my best year. I can't do much better than that.
Dave Henderson, time is called by the second base umpire, and I don't think it was a ball call. It was timed by Eric Gregg for some other reason. There was something happening back of the plate. I think Gregg was saying what, somebody with a flashball kind of made that indication. Some light. Don't know. Whatever. Henderson stands back in. Canseco goes. The pitch is a strike. The throw is not in time. Despite being right on the money, Jose got a good break and winds up stealing second.
I think one of the reasons Jose got in there was Matt Williams wasn't on the bag. Matt, a shortstop at the University of Las Vegas in Nevada, where he spent his college years, but it appeared that he came up in front of the bag. Catchers constantly remind second basemen and shortstops to stay on the bag. Don't receive the ball in front of the bag. And because of that, Canseco slid to the outside and was safe. But you could see Williams clearly take the ball about 1.5 yards in front of the bag. Right here, watch. If he allows that throw to come to the bag, they have a much better chance to get Canseco.
Who, as you know, became a charter member of the 40-40 club last year. 42 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Little chopper foul. We chronicled that at the top of the show tonight. I think I misspoke on the open when I had this. Henderson takes one off his foot. I said Dave Parker had 97 stolen bases. He wishes. 97 RBIs this year.
He had 38 to have 97 stolen bases. He'd be a much sought after free agent as it is after the year he had. It'll be interesting to see how long Jose can steal bases. You know, I mean, a big guy, it's a real tough on your body as you see the foul ball. This time a little bit more emphatically hit off Henderson's foot as it was compared to last night off of Canseco that you described so well, Tim.
I think Henderson is fine. He wants to get Barry Weinberg, the trainer, a little airtime here. You can sense it. I mean, everybody got into the game last night. Lance Blankenship got in and Stan Javier. So here's Barry. We haven't seen Mark Latan of the Giants yet. make an appearance on camera. Interestingly enough, though, you may have seen around the country in the aftermath of the earthquake here, there was a man being ministered to in the Giants dugout. It turned out that was the father of the Giants trainer, Mark Laton, and we're happy to report he's fine back home in Florida and resting very, very comfortably. There he is. Dad's resting comfortably, but there aren't too many on that bench resting comfortably right now. 2-2 the count. Ball 3, 3-2. And Henderson is on. So Lacoste, who came in the second inning, issues his second walk. And the batter will be Terry Steinbach. Steinbach hitless in 2 trips, takes inside, ball 1. 1-0. One and one. Lacoste would be due up 4th in the bottom of the 5th inning. The A's got a run in the top of the 1st on a home run by Henderson, then 3 as they batted around in the 2nd. And it's 4-0. That's hit down the line in right field, and it's a base hit and more as Canseco comes in to score. Nixon still chasing it down. Henderson rounds 3rd. He comes in to score. The relay to 3rd is not in time there, and it is 6-0 on a triple by Steinbach. And again and again and again against Toronto and against San Francisco, you walk somebody and the A's kill you. In the 2nd inning tonight, the intentional walk to Weiss, followed by Moore's double. Here, a 2-out walk to Henderson prolongs the inning. A triple by Steinbach, and it's 6-0 Oakland.
See a good piece of hitting as he just slices it, not trying to pull it, going with it. But really what sets up this base hit, we talked about the walk, as you see the ball go down into the corner. Steinbach, who runs well for a catcher like our colleague Tim McCarver, makes this into an easy triple. Strong throw from Clark, that a little bit offline, but again you go back to that walk, Al, but the stolen base. Lacoste has to pitch carefully. He's trailing 4-0 to Henderson. He walks him, and Steinbach delivers.
The point is the A's just take advantage of every opportunity, and that's what they have done now for the entire month of October.
Actually, the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not a station-to-station team. I mean, even the big guys can run, with the exception of McGuire. I mean, Steinbach runs well. Lansford stole over 30 bases. Henderson, you saw, scored easily. Even if that ball had been a double, he would have romped home.
Speed, pitching, power, defense. There are not that many more categories in baseball.
Phillips hits one in the air to left field, racing over is Mitchell. That's over his head. Phillips has an extra base hit. 7-0 as Steinbach scores on a double by Tony Phillips.
You just don't expect this kind of power. As you see the ball just eluding Kevin Mitchell over his head. Again, we've told you all night the ball is carrying. You got to play percentage baseball when you trail by 6, now 7 runs. You expect him not to hit the ball that far, especially the other way.
They walk Weiss intentionally here, which is what they did in the 2nd inning, preceding Moore's double. And Moore will be coming up with runners at 1st and 2nd. Well, we mentioned before, people are going to start comparing the A's as you look at Atlee Hammaker loosening up in the Giants pen. comparing the A's with some other teams in recent years, for instance, the '76 Cincinnati Reds, the team that swept the Yankees in the World Series. In that 4-game sweep, the Reds had 17 extra base hits. The A's now have 19 extra base hits, which would be a record for a 4-game series.
I think a big difference between this A team and that Cincinnati team. Can you remember a starter from that? I know you can, but I mean, really, they did not have the glamour starters that this team has. Really, nor the glamour reliever.
No.
A well-rounded pitching staff that's obviously pitched very well in that World Series. They thought this year they might have 4 guys that win 20 games.
Moore hits a chopper foul outside third, and the count is 0-1. Yeah, that would be the distinct difference. You'd have to say that that Reds team may have had a better top-to-bottom lineup, even though, I mean, the A's are hardly slouches when you get to Phillips and Weiss. They can still do their thing. The Reds during those years had Geronimo and Concepcion hitting 7 and 8.
Yeah, but the A's overwhelmingly better pitching than the Reds had in those years.
Definitely. 0-2. One and 2 the count.
Yeah, Sandy Alderson talking about he's got some tough decisions. Parker, a free agent. Henderson, a free agent. Said, I'll tell you one thing, I am not going to let this club blow away in the wind. We're going to try to keep them together.
And Moore gone on strikes, but the A's send 8 men to the plate, score thrice, and lead 7-0. Bottom of the 5th inning, Terry Kennedy leads off for San Francisco, and Mike Moore with an off-speed pitch, and it's 0-1. Kennedy, Litton, and Nixon. 7 runs, 8 hits for the A's, no runs, 3 hits for the Giants. One and 1. Well, what's it like to be down 3-0 in the World Series and down 7-0? This is what it's like. And now Kennedy live with a count 2-1.
That was Terry snapping and unsnapping at the same time.
Yes.
He snapped as he was unsnapping his shin guards.
Well, it has to be so bittersweet for a team like the Giants right now, as he lines it to left field, but even when they hit it hard, it's at people, and Henderson has trouble with the lights, but is able to gauge it and make the catch. So 1 down in the 5th inning. Litton is the batter, and we can remind you, you can help the Bay Area recover from the earthquake. Make a credit card contribution by calling that number, 1-800-453-9000. And again, on this 11th day after those disastrous 15 seconds, the remarkable recovery continues. Fly ball to right field, but not deep enough, and Canseco makes the catch, and he too looks up at the lights. So Litton is gone, 2 down in the 5th inning, and Donnell Nixon coming to the plate.
Again, the slicing action. You can see him looking at the ball all the way. You can tell by his eyes, he sees it, but he also sees some lights behind it. Pat Sharon, who plays right field, talking about the light standards here. He said a lot of balls, and again, it seems like they've readjusted the lights. They say they haven't, but he said it's a lot different September, October than it was earlier in the year.
It's funny, when the Giants came out here in the late 50s, in '58, May's a major star, and of course you go back to the late Carl Hubble and Mel Ott to the Polo Grounds. Bill Terry, John McGraw. They didn't have numbers in those days. That's why there's no number on that. Christy Mathewson as well, as Nixon draws ball 4, and Bill Baith comes up to bat for Lacoste. But the most popular Giant, there's no question, in the history of the San Francisco Giants was Willie McCovey. He was the guy because he spent his entire career as a San Francisco Giant. Came up as a rookie in 1959, and there it is. Faced Robin Roberts, 2 singles and 2 triples on the day he broke in. Stretch, as he's known, and in the ballpark tonight. Bill Baith with a home run last night.
He leads the Giants in RBIs with 1 at bat.
Tony La Russa. Remember, La Russa fired by the White Sox. And that team, of course, the bottom dropping out after he has left, and they're just beginning to recover with Jeff Torberg there. Tony gone during that one season when Ken Hawk Harrelson had taken over as the general manager. Hit back through the middle, diving stop by Phillips. He goes to Weiss, and he gets him. And it's been that kind of night and that kind of series for the Oakland A's into 5, 7-7.
After a brilliant play by Tony Phillips, watch why Donnell Nixon is out. You don't hook slide into catchers or to force plays. Watch his right foot. See, it goes by the bag, and he catches the bag with his left foot. If he goes in straight, then he's safe.
Another look on the bang-bang play at second, just in time because of the hook slide by Nixon.
The right foot would have been there clearly in time had he had that straight in slide, but nonetheless a spectacular play by Tony Phillips.
Here's Henderson with Jeff Brantley, the new pitcher, in the count 1-0. Speaking of Tony Phillips, might as well pick up a couple of notes from last night. Lost in the shuffle. Phillips last night became the first player in the history of the World Series to play 3 different positions in the same game. He started at second, he went to third, and then to left field. So the home run assault last night, that was lost in the shuffle. And also lost in the shuffle, Carney Lansford tied a World Series record held by several, scoring 4 runs in a game. Henderson, meanwhile, drills one to the gap in right center field, and the only question is double or triple. Well, there's 2, and he's on his way to third, and it's 3. And all Henderson needs for the cycle is a double. A homer, a single, a triple, and he is now 9 for 17 in the World Series after an even more spectacular playoff series against Toronto.
What would he do with a cycle? He already has one. Watch him motor to third base. Well, what a gate. And he is going to command big, big bucks this winter. What timing on the part of Rickey Henderson. It couldn't be better.
Well, he turned down $2.4 million from the Yankees. And again, you know, one of the reasons, Tim, he gets to third is that he comes out of the box thinking triple. Obviously hit it up the gap. 7-0 lead. You could be thinking double. And they made that replay play just about as well as you can. Ball going right over Litton, and with the double cutoff man, Williams made a good throw.
Do you think Henderson would like us to be his agent maybe next year? Is that possible?
You mean could we be?
Yeah, please. Popped up and back out of play, and the count 1-2. Henderson. It's a good question. Where will Rickey go next year? He might have a few options. Funny about Henderson too, you know, sometimes you just need that change of scenery. And frankly, if you go back to his initial stint with the A's, what really happened was you reach the point where you kind of wear out your welcome. And that was really the case more than anything else, even though there's a little revisionist history going on as to why he originally went to the Yankees. But that had a lot to do with it. You reach a point when the vibes just aren't right, and off he went to New York. And then almost the same thing sort of happens in New York, and then he comes back. And Lansford hits it into center field, and that drops for a base hit, and Henderson will trot home, and it is 8-0 Oakland. Hits for the A's. The slaughter goes on, and Canseco is the batter. Fouled out and singled twice.
That might be the first legitimate handshake during the series of somebody who scored a run. It's usually the elbow bashing.
Well, they're just trying any new method, so they're back to the basics is what it amounts to.
Rickey happy to be elbow bashing out here. He took another type of bashing in New York, right?
such an interesting way 1989 started for Rickey Henderson. Dallas Green takes over with the Yankees. He says we're going to do it like we, and then Rickey shows up 4 days late. They won't extend his contract because they think he'll try harder. And he gets off to really a poor start. 247, and I think he stole about 27 bases in 65 games. And they say we need pitching, and they make the trade along with Luis Polonia. But you know, he's a lot older, a lot more mature now that he's back in Oakland.
2-2 on Canseco.
I'll tell you what, the World Series had tri-MVPs back in 1981. You could select any one of about 5 athletic players that could be most valuable players. Either of the 2 pitchers, Henderson, Rickey or Dave, of course.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick a pitcher, you almost got to go with Stewart. I mean, Moore is pitching fabulously tonight, but and the reasoning that I have is you got to have a #1 guy. You got to have a guy that can lead the way. Dave Stewart's done that all year long. Did it in the playoffs. Did it 2 times in the World Series.
In the air to left field and playable for Kevin Mitchell as he comes over toward the bullpen and makes the catch in foul territory.
Yeah, but this would be an MVP for the World Series, and if Mike Moore continues and pitches a shutout, he will have actually pitched better than Stewart.
Well, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be a little bit of I don't want to call it a sympathy vote for Dave Stewart, but some of the voters are going to take into consideration the fact that here's a guy who, if you had a composite Cy Young over a 3-year period, would clearly be the winner. But as we documented throughout the World Series, he's just come up second best in the league, and he probably does to Saberhagen this year as well. So maybe everybody will say, as McGuire lines one into center, hey, the guy really deserves it. And it's not as if he's going to back into this award, but
no,
I think that's going to, that's something that's factored into the thinking. So McGuire with a single to center with 1 out in the 6th inning. Roger Craig going to the mound. Kelly Downs is up in the bullpen. Dave Henderson is coming in, and we'll return to Candlestick after this word from our ABC stations. Kelly Downs has come in to pitch here in the 6th inning. Robinson, Lacoste, Brantley, and now Downs. And Dave Henderson is the batter. The A's have runners at first and second, 1 out, lead 8-0, and Hendu trying to hit 1 out, swinging and missing, and the count is 0-1.
Some astute comments about being off for 10 or 12 days. He said I was swinging awful. I came back, and of course he hit 2 home runs and a double last night as he doesn't get the good breaking ball. He said, I don't think of myself as ever being in a slump, because once you think you're in your slump, you take another 0 for 3, and instead of being 0 for 6, you're 0 for 9. And already Kelly Downs has thrown 2 better pitches than he did all last night. So hurt by the layoff. Roger Craig, who said he's, a lot of people thought he may win a Cy Young award. That's the type of stuff he has. Hurt his shoulder, was out 3 months. Did a great job for him in postseason play, even though those numbers reflect last night's performance, where he did struggle.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count. On the subject of young children, by the way, we want to congratulate Roger Craig. At least some good news in the last couple of days for Roger, whose son and daughter-in-law are the proud parents of a, I understand, 10-pound, 12-ounce baby boy, a future linebacker.
Grandfather for the 8th time.
And down goes Henderson. So Downs comes out of the pen to take care of Henderson for the 2nd out. And Terry Steinbach comes to the plate.
That's the first A, other than Mike Moore, that went down on strikes. So they have been making contact. Boy.
Moore was keeping loose in the dugout as the pitch is in the dirt, 1-0. You know, I wouldn't say things are really going that well for the A's, but think of it this way. Is there a better night to clinch than the night you turn your clocks back an hour? I mean, you get an extra 60 minutes of celebration. I mean, that's when things are really going good. To Butler in center. And the A's pick up another in the 6th and lead it 8-0. Butler to lead off in the bottom of the 6th inning. Butler, Oberkfell, and Clark facing Mike Moore.
One of the keys to beat any team with a great closer is to keep him from ever having a chance to close.
Shattered bat, bouncer down to Phillips. One away, and Oberkfell will be the batter. Well, what's Moore been throwing tonight? We will take a look here on the bar graph. There it is.
And that's a lot different than he did in game, well, really the second game, his first start. Stayed with a lot of split fingers early, then went to the fastball.
Oberkfell grounds one to the left side, staying with it as Weiss straightens up and throws him out. 2 gone here in the 6th inning. Well, you know, it happens so often in sports. Teams repeat, and then the second time around, as is the case with the A's, it's just not good enough to get there. And Tony La Russa has thought about that. We were talking with him in his office before the game. They got there last year and came up short, so to get there was not enough. For the Giants, and even though you don't say it before the World Series, but you talk about it when you write your books over the winter, it is just good enough to get there when you win the pennant for the first time in 27 years. A 2-out single by Clark to right as he keeps the inning alive, and it brings up Kevin Mitchell. But it's something you see in sports so often.
Well, but if you lose, you take another look at Will, just great hips, the lyrical swing that allows him just to get the bat out in front for a base hit. But the one thing last year, they were the favorites. The one thing you did not see them snapping, we saw Terry Kennedy, and it's not to really point him out, but I think what I sense is they may never get back here talking about the Giants. The A's, I think they felt they would if they could get focused enough, and I think that's been what 1989's been all about for them.
Well, the Giants, on one hand, they'll go home, as I say, with a very bittersweet feeling with a World Series loss as Mitchell cranks one to deep left field, and finally they have something to cheer about in Candlestick. So it's what they hope is a start at least to make it 8-2. And Matt Williams at the plate. And he pops it foul back of first. And McGuire comes all the way over. Might have room, but no. In the regular season, he makes the catch. But they put those extra couple of rows in for the World Series. 0-1 the count.
Somebody made a nice catch. Looked like Lacoste earlier in the game. Look what I got. What a thrill that must be.
1-1 on Williams. So Kevin Mitchell led the majors in homers with 47. That's the second home run in the series for the Giants. Williams hitting one yesterday. That's grounded back of third. It's a fair ball. Lansford throws over to McGuire in time to get Williams. and the Giants finish in the 6th. They pick up 2, and it's 8-2 as we go to the 7th. Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Game 4 of the World Series. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver as the A's try to sweep, try to win their first crown since '74. And another look at the Kevin Mitchell 2-run homer.
The 1-2 punch for the A's all year long. Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell. Or for the Giants, I should say. 111 RBIs for Clark, 125 for Kevin Mitchell.
What this man right here likes about Kevin Mitchell, you know, the home runs, the RBIs, but he plays when he's hurt. You can count on him. Put his name in the lineup, you know he's going to come out and give you all he has. And he, boy, did he.
Tony Phillips leading off, facing Kelly Downs in the 7th inning. 1-0. Phillips, Weiss, and Moore is done for the night. He's gone back to the clubhouse, so he's pitched 6. A's have Gene Nelson throwing in the bullpen, and so we'll see a pinch hitter coming up 3rd here in the 7th. Shallow left center. Williams out. Butler in. And look out. It's Matt Williams because he's taller. 1 down in the 7th inning. Walt Weiss has drawn 2 intentional walks and flied out. In the World Series, he is 2 for 13. The A's next year, among other things, looking to draw 3 million people as Weiss hits a bouncer down to first. 2 down. And what better way to sell a lot of advanced season tickets and just advanced single game purchases and other forms of ticket packages than a world championship. Ken Phelps will come up to hit for Mike Moore here in the 7th inning. So Phelps batting for a man who was his teammate with the Mariners for several seasons.
And then to the Yankees, acquired by Oakland right before the August 31st period. I talked about if Kenny does not stay in baseball, either with the A's or another team, talking about maybe going to Japan. There's a decision with a couple of young kids that he may have to make.
Little pop up. Back of the mound, and it's the shortstop Williams making the catch. So Downs is set down to 5. He's faced, and we go to the bottom of the 7th inning at Candlestick. You know, the wild and wacky and wonderful world of sports, sometimes the best team does not win it all, but nobody will be talking about that if the A's hold on here.
I don't think there has ever been as dominating a performance as the Oakland Athletics have had during this 4-game stint, separated by 10 horrible days in the Bay Area and the Bay region, really.
Right. All the way up and down. Again, you know, San Francisco, the focus, along with Oakland, Santa Cruz, and Watsonville, and all of the other communities. A World Series, obviously, no one will ever forget for that reason. And years from now, in the Agatite, it's very likely to say 1989, Oakland AL4, San Francisco NL0. Under World Series results. Three and 0 to count as Kennedy takes a strike in the count. 3-1. Gene Nelson on in relief of Mike Moore, who worked 6 and gave up the 2 runs on the 2-run blast by Mitchell in the 6th inning. And Kennedy is on.
Nelson, who struggled last night, only pitched 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 4 runs. And a very strong bullpen for Tony La Russa and the A's.
In a bullpen that gets busy again, Rick Honeycutt will start to throw. And Steve Bedrosian gets up in the San Francisco pen because Kelly Downs is due up following Litton and Nixon. There's Eckersley still in the dugout. I'm not thinking about Eck just yet. One to count. 8-2. The A's on top.
he tricked Dutch Rennert with that good curveball.
And 2-0, and Steinbach will pay a visit to the mound, and Dave Duncan will make it a threesome.
Yeah, this was similarly what happened to Rick Honeycutt in the playoff. You look at Rick, he apparently had some mechanical problems, could not even throw the ball over the plate. Nelson with 2 walks last night. A kid that came up with the Yankees, won 20 games in the minor leagues, 20-4, and spent some time with the White Sox. Eventually over here, he's done a nice job, but the one period where he gave up, I mean, after August, never gave up only 1 run the rest of the year. They don't want to use Dennis Eckersley till the 8th or 9th, if that.
Tell you, think about what a proud man Dave Duncan must be. He's got a shot at having 2 pitchers, Mike Moore and Dave Stewart, win all 4 games, and Mike Moore only had 1 winning season before this year. Dave Stewart released 3 years ago by the Philadelphia Phillies.
There he is. Will he be a manager someday? Well,
yeah, I asked him that question. He said he'd like to do it. But I'll tell you what, he is very happy where he is.
That's hit to deep left field, and the Giants are trying to climb back into it. 8-4. Of a game with nobody out in the 7th inning, and Nixon at the plate, and that's popped up into shallow center field. Phillips goes out and calls for it, having trouble, but here comes Canseco, who had called him off, and makes the catch. Ernest Riles now comes up to bat for Downs.
Doubled a single last night. He wallops this one. A good 2-1 pitch. Heard that Nelson aimed it, and Litton aimed it into the left field bleachers. The worst thing you do as a pitcher, you can't get the ball over, is to take something off. You lose the movement on the ball, you lose some velocity, you don't make good pitches. And here comes Tony La Russa.
And it's the 2nd trip to the mound, which means that's it for Nelson. Honeycutt is in the bullpen. Not only is one Honeycutt here with Riles coming up, but Honeycutt has had great success with Butler throughout his career, and he follows Riles. And we'll come back to Candlestick Park after this.
Another look at the home run. Again, Litton. I'll tell you what, if they come back from an 8-0 deficit, and this cuts it to 8-4, it's going to be the biggest aftershock since the quake, especially against this pitching staff.
Well, right now, Candy Maldonado hitting for Riles, who was the announced pinch hitter for Downs, fouling it at the plate with Honeycutt on the mound. And again, all of those, the sparkling in the upper deck and the lower deck as well, the flashlights that people have carried to the ballpark. Sort of worked last night when that light bank went out. They'll do anything. That's hit in the air to right field and deep. Canseco going back, all the way back. That's off the fence, off his back, at his feet. Maldonado rounding second, on his way to third, in with a triple. And now you're going to the top of the order, which means Butler, and then Oberkfell, and then Clark and Mitchell. And there's one out.
fortuitous for the A's. Now shifts to the other side. A ball that carries real well. On a perfectly still night. Jose didn't even feel that off his back. And Maldonado, who does not run well, goes all the way to third with one out.
Tony La Russa reminding Mark McGwire at first to play Butler in anyway. Obviously, if he bunts here, he'd be bunting for a base hit with the Giants trailing by 4.
Butler 0 for 5 lifetime against Honeycutt because Brett was at Cleveland in the American League and Rick, of course, was with Seattle and Texas. In fact, that was one of the things La Russa had talked about to us before the game, a situation where he'd like to get Butler facing Honeycutt, even though Butler generally with very good success against left-handed pitching. 0-1 is wrapped into left field for a base hit. It's 8-5. Henderson can only knock it down. Butler on his way to second, in there.
Butler is into second base. No error given, a double and an RBI by Brett Butler, his 3rd hit of the night.
Honeycutt, remember, struggled through the playoffs. And again, you go back to the delay, even though Stewart showed very little effect of the delay last night. The pitchers, keep in mind, most of these guys, and there's Todd Burns, with what you'd regard as almost too much time off. Duncan back, Thompson hits for Oberkfell, Clark on deck. It's 8-5. So what it amounts to is Clark, the tying run, is in the on-deck circle. Robbie Thompson, pinch hitting. 1 out in the 7th. Crowd going wild, and the count 1-0.
The reason Thompson did not start, cortisone shot on Tuesday, hurt his shoulder about 6 weeks ago. They're giving him a lot of room in third base. He wants to drop one down.
That's hit sharply, base hit into left center field. Butler had to go back towards second. Now being waved in around third. It's 8-6.
What started out as domination is quickly turning into abomination for the Athletics. Butler had to go back to second base. He thought that the play was going to be made by Weiss, but even then, with the ball in left center field, he scores easily without a play.
Will Clark is the tying run, and it's hit high in the air to shallow right field. Canseco comes in underneath it and makes the catch, staying with it. Staggering for the moment under it. Clark just getting under it. 2 down, and Kevin Mitchell is the batter.
No question here that a change will be made. Steinbach out to talk now to Rick Honeycutt, as Clark knows he just missed that slider. Just missed it.
La Russa comes to the mound. Todd Burns will come in. Kevin Mitchell will come up. He'll be the tying run. The Giants with 4 in the inning, and it is 8-6 Oakland. Candlestick Park is rocking. It was 8-0. The Giants got 2 in the 6th thanks to a 2-run homer by this man, Kevin Mitchell. They have scored 4 here in the 7th. Todd Burns comes in to pitch as Mitchell represents the tying run. Robbie Thompson at first base, 2 out. And Mitchell trying to tie it with 1 swing, throw back to McGuire, and Thompson retreats safely to first. 47 homers during the regular season for Mitchell. 28 of the 47 off right-handers. Flashlights twinkling, and the pitch, another swing and a miss, and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what arm you throw with. Throw a hanging slider like he got last time. Look at the largest deficit ever overcome to win a game.
Philadelphia Athletics against the Cubs, 1929. 8-run deficit. 0-2 the count. Just off the plate. 1-2.
Imagine Roger Craig's got to be pretty happy. Got a guy like Honeycutt who pitched in 3 playoffs, World Series. Like Burns, who doesn't have the experience.
2-2 with Matt Williams on deck.
See for yourself, 1-2. A little bit low, right above below the knees. If you're pitching, you want it, but that ball was definitely Matt Williams on deck.
Foul back. Still 2-2. In the air to deep left field. Henderson going back, but has a play on the track. And the Giants come that close to tying it. Whew. To the 8th.
Terry Steinbach sitting outside, and it's a good thing. Off the end of the bat by Mitchell, and he just misses, tying this ball game up.
And look at Henderson's reaction.
Yeah, he's been around long enough to have recognized the swing.
And Josie Whitfield, Mitchell's grandmother, who actually raised Kevin, along with the crowd.
Yeah, Rickey knew by the swing. I think he was thanking the divine forces that the ball stayed in the park.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
Rickey Henderson to lead off. Craig Lefferts is the Giants pitcher here in the 8th inning. Henderson, Lansford, and Canseco. Rickey with a home run, a single, and a triple. The other time they got him on a bouncer to second. Top of the 8th inning, 8-6. Check swing. Did he come around? Yes, says Al Clark.
Yeah, Rickey says, I thought you, American League umpire, are supposed to be on our side. Don't call those check swings. See for yourself right here. See if the bat goes out in front of home plate. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Good call by Al Clark.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. Little squibber by the mound. Williams corrals it, has to hurry and gets it. 1 away. The Giants, the changers defensively here in the inning for Roger Craig. It's Robbie Thompson staying in the game at second base. He hit for Obergefell, and the second baseman Litton moves over to third, and that's the way they align defensively.
You're wondering about Lefferts, the left-hander, against the right-handed Henderson, Lansford, and Canseco. Roger Craig hoping that the screwball will neutralize these 3 right-handed batters.
Lansford hits one foul outside third. Craig with pitching coach Norm Sherry, whose brother Larry was the big hero in the World Series 30 years ago for the Dodgers against the White Sox. 1 out, bases empty, 8th inning, 8-6 Oakland. 1-1. When the Giants bat, and there's Dave Henderson in the bottom of the 8th inning. Matt Williams, Terry Kennedy, Greg Litton. The Giants, of course, deep into their bench right now. They've already used Baith as a pinch hitter. Riles is the announced pinch hitter. Thompson's in the game. Maldonado has been used. So they're down to Kurt Manwaring, Jose Uribe, and Pat Sheridan.
Manwaring with a double last night. He's on a hot streak.
That's grounded toward the hole. A great stop by Litton from his knees. Clark has to jump to come off the bag, and Lansford is safe. So Litton able to make a great play initially, but he couldn't complete it. And Canseco is welcomed to the plate by the crowd.
Well, one of the factors in baseball it's really tough to neutralize, as you see the fine grab by Greg Litton, is speed. He knows he has to hurry, especially after he loses his feet. That's why he throws it from his knees, but Lansford just beats it out. Again, that 10-day delay, Lansford running just about as well as he's run all year.
An exceptionally strong throw from his knees, we might add.
Yeah. Well, that's why they like him. You know, he can play second. He's played right field. See, pretty good range at third, playing way off the line, and certainly a strong arm.
And anybody with a bad back, just think about what that does to your back when you make that kind of throw.
Another factor about Craig Lefferts is that he's got a good pickoff move, so you neutralize the running attack. Even if Henderson got on, make it a little bit more difficult.
2-0 on Canseco. Giant bullpen will get busy again. Bedrosian, who was up before, will start to throw now once more. What Craig would love to do is hold Bedrosian off as long as he can. You'd like to have your ace in there with the lead, obviously, or is tied. Not when you're behind, because you eventually have to pinch hit for him. And it's 3-0 with Mark McGwire on deck.
Of course, we get back to what we talked about all night. For there to be a tomorrow, they got to win tonight. When we had a chance to talk to Roger, he told us about Clem Labine, a great reliever. Said he couldn't remember the year, but he started a reliever and went 10 innings, winning 1-0.
Canseco walks on 4 pitches. So runners at first and second with 1 out, and Mark McGwire comes to the plate. The Oakland first baseman is 1 for 4. Kennedy looking toward the dugout. Thompson coming in. This is where Craig really, he obviously thinks this whole thing through. You got a right-handed hitter, a left-handed pitcher. Do you bring your Bedrosian in here? Now Clark is coming in, and when something like this takes place, it's oft times to give the relief pitcher a little extra time in the bullpen. Now Kennedy begins to stall again.
Dutch Rennert, the home plate umpire, slowly walking out, breaking it up. But remember, Bedrosian was warming up before, so he should be about ready. One quality that a short reliever has through necessity is that they get ready in a hurry.
And all they were doing, as we surmised, was buying some time, because here comes Craig, and he doesn't want to have to bring Bedrosian in here, but he cannot afford to give up another run. That's of primary importance at the moment. For the Giants now, Greg Litton returns to second base. He started there, went to third, now back to second. Jose Uribe becomes the new shortstop, hits in the 9 spot. They move Matt Williams over to third base from short. Bedrosian in the game, he hits in the 2-hole, and McGwire pops the first pitch up toward the Giant dugout. Kennedy comes back, has room, has it for the out. Runners tag but hold as Terry runs it back and holds on to it for the second out. Lansford daring him for the moment, trying to precipitate a throw, and holding on a second. Another look now.
Yeah, when the base runner makes you commit, you make him commit. Now watch Kennedy. He looks towards second. Lansford's halfway, and now he runs properly toward third base, and Lansford scampering back to second. Good play by Kennedy.
Dave Henderson now, 2 on, 2 out, top of the 8th inning. The A's on top 8-6 in a game they led 8-0 at one point. Up high, ball 1. And again, because of the unprecedented delay in the World Series and the resumption of it, you're looking at Bedrosian on the mound, and he has not pitched in 2 weeks. During the regular season, if a short man doesn't get in for 4 days in a row, everybody says, uh-oh, he's lost his edge.
Yeah, well, they tried to keep him sharp with the inter-squad games and stop that after some of the batters got frustrated. You throw on the side, never hit your mistakes on the side.
In there, 2-1.
The one thing that Steve Bedrosian has going for him is he's got great velocity on his fastball. And also being a big guy at almost 6'5", herky-jerky motion, hides the ball well. And he's got that slider. Whether he can throw it over is the question.
Well, he's 3-1 now on Henderson. On deck is Steinbach.
Bedrosian coming to the San Francisco Giants. There's Terry Steinbach. Bedrosian coming to the Giants for Terry Mulholland, Dennis Cook, and Charlie Hayes from the Philadelphia Phillies. Back in early June.
3-1 pitch coming to Henderson. And the count is full, so it's 3-2, and so the runners will be taking off with the pitch. Lansford will go from second. Canseco from first. Good speed on the bases.
That's how you hit a double and 2 home runs the night before. Air it out.
Crowd to its feet. The runners go. The pitch is fouled away, and we'll do it again.
You know, 3-1, you can look in a zone. Henderson likes the ball out over the plate. 3-2, you look for the ball. You know, you've said many times, and I think almost anybody that ever watched Major League Baseball, let alone played it, the ball that's the toughest to hit is the ball inside. Trying to protect the plate. You're very vulnerable inside.
Runners take off. 3-2 pitch. Fouled away one more time upstairs. Saw Henderson before he yawned. It appeared as if he yawned, but that's an expression you'll see a lot. That's just his way of relaxing. Very, very common trait for him.
You also saw Kennedy flashing 1-1-4. It was a fastball, but this is a fastball inside.
And they're loaded up. So ball 4, they're loaded up for Steinbach, who is 1 for 4 tonight. That won a triple in the 5th inning.
In essence, you had a base open. So 3-2, you want to make your pitch. As we've said many times, you cannot afford trailing 8-6 to give up any more runs.
For a ball, and Kennedy's going to settle him down.
You saw once again 1-2-1-4. So it appears that the Giants are using the first sign. So you at home can anticipate along with Terry Steinbach.
And also when you see him give it location, either in or out, normally that's a fastball. Looks like maybe a breaking ball, Timmy?
Fastball.
No, fastball.
They're using the first or second sign. I think the first sign. Every time he has put down the finger 1 in his series of signs, it's been a fastball. This is a fastball away.
And that's fouled back, and the count is 2-1. Remember Bedrosian now in the pennant clinching game against the Cubs came on in that 9th inning and dug himself a hole. Got the first 2 men out, gave up a run, but then got Ryan Sandberg to ground out to clinch it. Trying to escape again here. The 2-1 pitch is upstairs for ball 3. Lansford at third. Canseco is the runner at second. Henderson at first. And the 3-1 pitch to Steinbach is popped foul, back out of play. So the count is full and the runners will take off again. And Bedrosian would be advised to pitch from the stretch and is told so by Kennedy, or reminded so anyway, to keep the runners as close as he can. And Craig is saying, hey, Steve, time out, baby. Go to your stretch, and he's not paying attention, and time is now called. Time is called. This was very interesting. Bedrosian is on the mound, ready to pitch from a windup. Kennedy had already said go to the stretch. Craig was calling time saying go to the stretch, and time was called. No balk.
And the reason for that primarily is for the runner at first base. You prevent him from scoring on a long single. He's winding up. Bedrosian, I think, still wants to wind up.
He obviously does. So here he goes. The runners go. The 3-2 pitch is fouled away. And you see the difference there is by the time he threw the ball, Henderson was already around second base.
And the only reason that I can imagine he would be doing this, he's 3-2. He must not feel comfortable, even though most relievers feel more comfortable from a stretch position than they do from a windup, because he's going to do it again. At least it appears that.
Sure he is.
You know, he knows he's got to throw it over.
3-2 pitch to Steinbach is low to force in a run. And that makes it 9-6. And again, the Oakland walks, in addition to the home runs and all of the rest of it. 3 walks and an infield single in the inning for a run.
That gives you an idea of how far Henderson was running on the play, and Bedrosian wound up and still walked Steinbach. You could see Kennedy in the background, or Henderson in the background. And he was past second base. He actually had to go back when the ball reached Terry Kennedy.
Phillips takes high, ball 1. Well, the Giants know what it's like to be in a crucial game 27 years ago on the other side of a bases loaded walk. In the playoff against the Dodgers to determine the pennant in '62, Stan Williams walking in what proved to be the pennant winning run for the Dodgers against the Giants. And it's 2-0, and Atlee Hammaker in the bullpen, and Bedrosian can't find the plate.
And Terry Kennedy doing everything he possibly can as a catcher. Target in the middle of the plate, not sitting away. Hey, here, big boy, here it is. Throw it anywhere in the rectangle. And that's a good strike for Bedrosian, especially when he's struggling.
That's hit foul outside first. McKay skipping out of the way, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Bases loaded, 2 down, 8th inning, 9-6 A's. And it might be playable. Going to be real close for Clark, and he makes the catch. I believe he does. Clark's going to come over to make sure. Yes. That's all you'll ever need to know about Will Clark. Ever. Folks, I don't know what to tell you to look at first. Here's a fabulous catch. He winds up nearly in the lap of the commissioner, Fay Vincent. Right there. Mr. Commissioner, what do you think? Is it a catch or no catch? And then Willie Mays, subsequent to that, comes over to help Clark get back out of the box as Matt Williams leads off in the bottom of the 8th inning. What a no.
I'll tell you what Commissioner Vincent is thinking. All of these decisions over the past 2 weeks have been dropped in my lap, and now Will Clark.
Yes, it is. And he's handled everyone perfectly as far as I'm concerned. Oh, boy. Todd Burns working on Williams, who chases a fastball away in the count 1-2. And that's a line drive into the glove of Phillips. So one down. Kennedy is the batter. Terry has grounded out, flied out, drawn a walk. Looking down from the Goodyear blip, hovering above Candlestick, which was very, very quiet for most of the night, and then began to erupt with 2 in the 6th and 4 in the 7th. The A's add 1 in the 8th, lead 9-6, and the pitch is low, ball 1 to Kennedy. One and one. Dennis Eckersley throwing in the bullpen. Lifted to center. Dave Henderson, and 2 down. There is Eckersley. So the Giants, who in the bottom of the 7th were 3 feet away from tying the game, are now 4 outs away from watching Oakland celebrate. Matt Young, the lefty, and Eckersley, the righty. Now Litton, whose home run was a real pivotal blow in the Giant comeback in the 7th inning. He came up with a score 8-2 and hit a 2-run shot, and that got the crowd very much back into it. 0-1 the count. A's in the 9th would have Weiss, the pitcher's spot, Burns, and then the top of the order, Rickey Henderson. In the air to right center field, and playable for Dave Henderson as he backs up and makes the catch. So a 1-2-3 inning, and on to the 9th in game 4, 9-6 A's. 9th inning, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Candlestick Park 9-6. And the A's with Weiss to lead off. Dave Parker has come out on deck. He'll bat for Burns, and you'll probably see, well, they could definitely see Eckersley start at the bottom of the 9th, and then Rickey Henderson up 3rd in the inning. Boy, so many scenes to remember in this one. There's Eckersley warming up. I mentioned when Clark made that catch, that's all you needed to know about Will Clark. Just to elaborate, the way Clark was coming over, forget about plywood. He would have gone into concrete in that same fashion in that situation. That's a one-hopper right to Will, and he makes the play. 1 out.
That's a real good point, because most of the time a first baseman, third baseman approaching the stands will really check out where the stands are. He never even looked. No. All he did was concentrate on the ball.
Clark said, we've got to get this out. You could watch him on that play. He never slowed up. I mean, he was going to go dive bombing into the stands if he had to. And he did. Right there.
Sitting right behind Commissioner Fay Vincent, Ed Fargo, National League umpire supervisor.
Dave Parker at the plate. You know, the great ones, they do the same things. I'm reminded when I see Clark do that. You know, you think back, and we were there, guys, in '85 in St. Louis when George Brett went into the dugout to make that catch. Williams makes the catch, staying with it. So 2 down now in the 9th inning. Henderson coming up, and looking ahead now for the Giants. They have the 8, 9, and 1 spots. You would say that's not where they want to be, but in a way it is, because you got Nixon, you got Uribe, and you got Butler. And I say it is because if you get a couple of guys on, that's when you got Clark and Mitchell. Conceivably is the tying or the winning runs. So 2 down. And Rickey Henderson to the plate. Henderson up for the 6th time in the game. He is 3 for 5.
Still trying to hit for that cycle. And all he needs is a double. Homer in the first, single in the second, and then a triple in the sixth.
1-0 the count. Nine runs, 12 hits for Oakland. 6 runs, 9 hits for San Francisco. That's grounded to third, backhanded by Williams. So Bedrosian shuts him down in the ninth, and here come the Giants, down by 3. The A's trying to clinch. For the Giants now, Nixon will come up. He's the number 8 hitter. Uribe, when he came into the game, placed in the 9 spot. Then the top of the order, Butler. Then you've got Bedrosian spot 4th, where they'll probably save Pat Sheridan, the left-handed batter. The only other player they have on the bench is Kurt Manwaring, the other catcher. So Dennis Eckersley comes in to pitch. He has a 3-run lead, and of course the 5th hitter in the inning would be Clark. You get to a 6th hitter, Mitchell. So here we go in the bottom of the 9th inning with Nixon to lead off, and tries to bunt his way on, and it's a good bunt to the right side, and Phillips shovels, gets him. Great play by Phillips, and McGuire with the presence to get back to cover at first base. Good bunt, the type you normally beat out.
That's a perfect bunt, only other than the fact that Tony Phillips anticipates it. We already saw him go up the middle. You can see him pushing the base. McGuire goes back to the base, and Phillips, a former shortstop, anticipating that play, comes in and makes a snap throw and have it out.
The second terrific play by Phillips in this ball game, and if you notice, Mark McGuire, in going back to first base, slipped and almost didn't make it.
So the A's continue to do it in every phase. Power, hitting, running, defense, pitching, of course. Fly ball to left field. Henderson makes the catch, and the Giants are now down to their final out. So you've got Butler coming up, and then you've got after him Sheridan, who's already out on deck, and then if they could both get on, you'd have Clark as the tying run.
And if you wonder why they're not taking a pitch, hey, you got the scouting report on Eckersley. 3 walks in 57 innings over the course of the regular season. So you better swing the bat.
So Butler now, the Giants down to their final out. 0-1. A's trying to sweep, but the Giants have certainly not made life easy for them tonight. That's a ground ball to the right side, speared by Phillips, flips to Eckersley. Yes, he's there in time, and the A's are the world champions.